One, two, three.
It's
Oh!
up to you. So which one you will try to follow in the end? So will you follow your own self-expression, or will you like compromise your identity to conform to like what the other people think?
We're definitely lacking more on the recognition and appreciation of our own cultural style. So, yeah, I think that's where we need to focus more if we really want to modernize our clothing.
Over here, you're more liberated. You're not. People don't stare at you as much as they would in Philippines if you wore like what you would wear here in America versus there. Judging from experience, I was there like last year or 2 years ago.
That's right. Fashion isn't just about what we wear. It's a reflection of who we are, how we express ourselves, where we've come from, and where we're headed.
From the hustling urban streets down to the relaxing and peaceful provinces of the Philippines, Filipino fashion stands as a living testament of our identity. For centuries, clothing has served a significant piece of who we are and our rich cultural heritage, reflecting our strength, resilience, our boundless creativity, and the unique stories across our islands binding us as one true nation.
Today, we have witnessed its constant evolution. We adapt to the current global trends, we diversify our preferences, finding ways to express who we are. But with all the modern fashions emerging globally, how do we keep our Filipino style alive while still embracing what's new and fresh? Welcome to another episode of PODKASERYE, Culture, Com, and Context. In today's episode, we'll be talking about fashion, and specifically Western clothing fashion versus Filipino clothing culture.
That's right. We'll be putting Western and Filipino culture side by side, looking at their ins and outs, their differences, and their challenges, and what makes them thrive together. So come lend us an ear and join us. We are your hosts. I am Alec.
And I am Julia, and this episode is entitled Threads of Two Worlds, Pinas Meets West. I am very excited for today's episode because this podcast had already talked about music, art, food, but let's not forget that culture can also be expressed through the clothes that we wear every day.
Yeah, you see, fashion culture is actually very interesting because as Filipinos, we have barongs and Filipinianas as well as indigenous clothing. And we still have the greatest invention known to man, the chinelas.
The chinelas is very lovable by the Filipinos. But let's also not forget that the Filipino clothing is evolving and transforming into a more Western style of clothing.
We'll dig deeper into that in our discussion. But first, here's a question for you listeners. As Filipino fashion continues to evolve, how can we preserve our cultural identity and values while still embracing global fashion trends? We'd love to hear your thoughts on that and write your comments down below. Let's talk about that.
And speaking of listening to your thoughts, our team asked our fellow CUCians about choosing whether they like a Filipino clothing more or a more Western piece of clothing. So let's get to know more about that in a game of This or That.
Barong.
Salakot or baseball cap?
Baseball cap.
Camisa de chino or sleeveless?
Sleeveless.
Chinelas or sneakers?
Chanelas.
Kaya or Venice? Shaya. Bado or crop top? Crop top. Manuela or sleeveless top? Ano yun? Sige, sleeveless top. Salakot or baseball cap?
Baseball cap.
Camisa de chino or sleeveless top?
Camisa de chino.
Chinelas or sneakers?
Chinelas.
Our generation is more aligned with the modern styles of clothing. I mean, some of them didn't even know what other traditional Filipino wear was. Like, what even is salakot?
Salakot. It's called salakot.
Oh.
But personally, I would also choose a crop top over a baro. And interestingly enough, in comparing these two types of clothing together, I think in Filipino style of clothing, our values of modesty and conservatism is more prominent and obvious.
Yes, I definitely agree with that because our country, the Philippines, is deeply rooted in Catholic beliefs. And its modesty changes our fashion to a more conservative type. To be able to dive further about our topic, we've invited two special guests currently with us now in today's episode. Two inspiring women who have lived through both cultures.
Would you like to introduce yourself first?
Alright, so hi guys, my name is Bianca. I'm 22 years old and a Filipino, but I've actually lived in both the United States and in the Philippines, so I have a experience with both of them.
And we also have our second guest, which is joining us virtually. And would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Lori. I'm 25 years old. I'm Filipino, but I'm still am since I grew up here in America since I was 6 years old.
Thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate you joining us for this discussion. So, I'm really curious. What would you say is your fashion style?
All right. So when it comes to my fashion style, I think I'm a bit on the more like formal side. So I'm really into like the academic kind of fashion with the dark clothes, the monochrome patterns, and things like that.
And how about Lori?
I like to switch it up just because all the seasons here change. So sometimes it's layers, sometimes it's just like a shirt with some shorts, but it just differs. My style sense is there's a big spectrum of it just because of all the different varieties I have.
It's definitely kind of amazing to see how fashion changes this depending on geography, where you're located at the world.
Yeah.
No.
So for our first question, when it comes to comparing Filipino fashion culture and Western Filipino fashion culture, in your own experience, how do Filipino and foreign fashion styles differ when it comes to modesty and body expression? So, Bianca first.
All right. So from a more Filipino perspective, since I've lived longer in the Philippines, I think we're definitely more on the conservative side. So we're usually, despite being a tropical country, a lot of us here, we're wearing long sleeves or jackets or layers despite our like typically warm climate, and there could be a lot of reasons for that, but for me it's more of like due to the social norms or the values that my family has, since my relatives, they're more of the religious side and they tend to be nitpicky about what I wear when I was younger, so I had to like change my fashion style just to avoid their comments.
And how about Lori? Do you have the same experience as well?
Like growing up here, my mom, since she was over there like majority of her life, it was due to religion, it was due to the respect of the elders and things like that. But as I grew up, I became a lot more Americanized. I've been accustomed to the changes in fashion. It has the last 2 decades definitely. So it's just with the whole over here, you're more liberated. You're not people don't stare at you as much as they would in Philippines if you wore like what you would wear here in America versus there. Judging from experience, I was there like last year or 2 years ago, and I would get a few looks here and there whenever I went out in African clothes. So I tend to cover up more a little bit, especially like in your top versus and sometimes a little bit like your shorts too. So I tend to be more conservative when I'm back home versus how I'm over here. So yeah.
Alright, moving on to the next question. In your own opinion, what are the challenges and opportunities faced by Filipino fashion in maintaining cultural authenticity amidst foreign fashion dominance?
All right. So in my opinion, I think one of the like biggest challenges that Philippine cultural fashion style faces against the Western or the foreign fashion styles, it's because we have a very colonial mindset. So most of our fashion inspiration, it comes from like other countries. So we don't really look at our own culture and our own heritage for inspiration in the way we dress. So like for example, I usually look at like Western influences sometimes when it comes to my fashion inspo, like the pictures there. And so it's really hard for fashion, Filipino fashion, to become more like normalized, since we have like a distinct way that we look at our fashion or our cultural fashion. We think of it more as like traditional, like the barong and the like Filipino fabric. So we only use it on like formal or traditional occasions. So it's hard to like remove that mindset or that perception.
And how about Lori?
For that question, some of the challenges is just the Filipino fashion culture regarding history, heritage. Again, we come from Spaniard heritage, and then we also come from our like indigenous people. So with the Filipinian and the barong, the challenges are there because it's a distinct style choice that has been with our culture for generations. But you can also for like opportunities moving forward, I've seen it where for the Filipiniana, you can have like different forms of it being like a top or it being a dress. I saw one on Instagram where this girl made it as to you can just, it's like it's like a sweater for the Filipiniana, so you can wear it with any type of formal dress, semi-formal, just to respect your heritage. And then as far as the barong, like for that one, it's just the material it's made with. I feel like we can explore a little bit more of like the textiles while still like keeping our culture with the whole respect for, again, those formal types of attire for the men. But it's definitely gotten a long way. I've seen it in many different platforms.
So I definitely think that in the future we could be more fluid or flexible when it comes to traditional Filipino clothing. Since Lori also mentioned that it's becoming more modernized these days. Like I've also heard about the Filipiniana jacket sleeve where you could put it on top of other tops, and that's one step forward to like modernizing or incorporating the Filipino traditional clothing into our everyday casual wear.
And I think other countries, other clothing styles from other countries, they are able to modernize their clothing as well. Like for example, Japanese clothing, it's quite a trend. Japanese and Korean clothing, the pleated skirts, dress pants. A lot of these fashion trends are inspired from other Asian cultures that are trendy now, and that we can wear that casually now.
So I think it's like a cat and mouse game where wearing it in specific occasions is also, it enhances the fashion, but the less we see it, it's bad.
We're definitely lacking more in the recognition and appreciation of our own cultural style. So yeah, I think that's where we need to focus more if we really want to modernize our clothing. So for our next question, we've talked about the different fashion experience when it comes to women versus men. So for the next question, do you think there's pressure, especially on being women, to conform either to conservative expectations or liberated trends in fashion? And how does this dual expectation affect identity and self-expression? So maybe Lori first.
In regards to the pressure, I had to fight my way out of it. Again, like growing up with like my Filipino mom and versus my like American friends, it was always like, you need to put a jacket on, you need to put a different shirt on, things like that. So I had to fight my way out of that and choose like clothes that makes me feel comfortable, makes me feel pretty and confident. So the pressure is definitely there, like regardless of where you started off, but you just have to put yourself out there.
I love that.
I see that there is no middle ground, is there? Do you think there's a middle ground? That there is no?
Yeah, so it's up to you. So which one you will try to follow in the end? So will you follow your own self-expression, or will you like compromise your identity to conform to like what other people think?
And I think one of the issue also lies from our own mentality and upbringing as Filipinos, especially again from a religious upbringing, and there's definitely a prejudgment when it comes to the type of style you would choose. Yeah.
So there is a pressure. As Western fashion often emphasizes freedom and self-expression, while Filipino fashion reflects conforming to traditional norms. How can both styles, American and Filipino, coexist in a way that promotes inclusivity and innovation in the local fashion scene?
So I feel like our generation would be the one to take that further once we grow older, be more knowledgeable in the cultural fashion sense, which other nation work fluidly with our traditional fashion sense. But I feel like we just need to take time in order to go ahead and get more knowledge on that. But as far as like conforming to like the traditional sense, I don't think it's much of a difference than it was before. I think it's just something our generation will eventually break out of and just find our own sense of style with confidence in our traditional culture as well.
So what we've learned today is that there really is a step that we need to take, especially as we are the younger generation, to be able to create a safer space for the younger generation, so that we can break off the toxic mentality of modesty, conservatism, and especially on expressing ourselves. We can be more expressive of ourselves in any way, and especially on clothing as well. Thank you so much to our guests for today for the wonderful experiences and insights that you've shared with us today. And it's really interesting to see both of your insights since Bianca is here in the Philippines and Lori is in the States. And there's definitely a difference when it comes to culture and aside from the fashion itself, the mentality when it comes to dressing up and expressing yourself.
Also the social norms.
Mm-hmm. So that's a wrap on our deep dive into these two different cultures.
Well, that's right. Fashion isn't just about what we wear. It's a reflection of who we are, how we express ourselves, where we've come from, and where we're headed. Whether it's traditional, modern, every piece you wear tells a story.
And the best part is we don't have to choose just one. We'd like to thank everyone for tuning in to today's episode, Threads of Two Worlds, Pinas Meets the West. And don't forget to like and share this episode and tune in for more episodes in this campus podcast. I'm Julia.
I'm Alec.
And this is PODKASERYE, Culture, Com, and Context. Bye!
Bye!